Hello and welcome to Page One, the Writers Podcast. I'm Marco.
I'm Tarek.
And wait, Tarek, who's this?
Oh, it's Timmy. I've been released from the cupboard of dispatching Page Ones for a special appearance on the Page One podcast.
Tim is, you may have heard, if you've listened to the podcast before, we have referred to the boss in quotes, and Tim is that man.
Or legend. The myth.
I don't think we've called you legend.
The man, the legend.
I obviously haven't listened to all of them yet.
Tarek, this is one of a special series of episodes we've recorded at the Fringe with comedians to find out about their writing process for their stand-up shows. And we recorded these at a variety of venues across Edinburgh. So the sound quality does vary at times. We sometimes recorded them at the venues themselves. But Tarek wasn't able to make all of the interviews, so Tim kindly agreed to step in.
Interviewer extraordinaire.
Yes, and I think, Tarek, you're out of a job.
I've been waiting 112 episodes for this day. I'm finally free.
Well, you've not heard my ones yet, so we'll see how that goes.
We'll see how it goes with the listeners. But yeah, so we will get straight into these special episodes. We're releasing at least one a day this week. They're very short episodes, but hopefully very interesting and funny, of course. And we'll play a quick advert for our writer's notebook, and then we'll get straight into the interview.
But for now, on with the podcast.
See you later.
The blank page. To some, it's terrifying, an obstacle to overcome. But we prefer to think of it as an opportunity, a blank canvas to be filled with all of the adventures and characters in our head. So how to overcome that fear? Well, we all know the best advice for a writer is write. Seriously, get words on the page and more will follow.
But what about later, when you start trying to pull those threads of what you've written together? What about the character you wrote about way back at the start? Who was she again? What was she carrying? And where did she leave the MacGuffin that she now really needs in the third act? Think about all those top thrillers you like to read, or that amazing drama you just watched. What did they all have in common? Structure and planning.
As aspiring writers ourselves, we've tried many different methods to try and organise all the thoughts about the stories we want to tell. We've been there searching for a piece of scrap paper to note something down, or making a quick note on our phone in between meetings.
Or sometimes we'll make a note in whatever notebook we're carrying, or a document on our laptop so we don't forget that great idea. Let's be honest, it can all be a bit messy and it's easy to lose track of everything. And that's when we realised it's not just the story that needs structure and planning, but the way we gather all of our thoughts about it as well.
And so we made Page One. Page One is more than just another notebook. It's a place to put down all your ideas for your latest project, divided into easy-to-use sections that will help you plan your story, so that when that blank page comes calling, you're ready to answer. And then afterwards, once it's written, we realised you need to plan how to let people read it, so we included a section relating to submissions.
Each one is designed for one project, whether you want to write a book, screenplay, a comic, or any other kind of story. We truly believe that when you use it, it will help you get to the main event, writing your story. So we hope this helps.
We can't wait to read what you come up with.
And remember, every story starts with page one.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Page One, the Writers Podcast. I'm Marco.
And I'm Tarek.
And we're here with a very special guest, Schalk
Bezuidenhout. I promised him I would do that. I would say my surname for him.
Yeah, because there's no doubt that I would have mucked that up. So yes, thanks very much for joining us, Schalk.
It's actually more respectful that you did that. You know, some people just like
make something up.
They just bulldoze through it. Well, not that I care, but you know.
So you've got a show on at the Fringe, but when did you decide that you wanted to launch into a comedy career?
Yeah, I didn't really decide. It sort of decided to choose me. That sounds very like a beginning of a Harry Potter novel, but
Owl came in your window and just said, "Come on, you need to go to stand-up school."
So I was like sort of class clown in school, and especially in high school, I was the go-to guy to always advertise things in assembly. So whenever there was something that like a fundraiser at the school or something that tickets needed to be sold for and tickets were slow, they'd always be like, oh, get Schalk. He's going to go on stage and he's going to do a little song and dance and he's going to do silly character and whatever, and and then basically motivate people. Okay, guys, come. Everyone needs to buy tickets for the Valentine's Ball. But my focus was always more acting, and then I went to the University of Cape Town. I auditioned for the acting degree I wanted to get into, and I didn't get in. And then I was sort of stuck in first year BA, lots of time on my hands, and I did do drama as a subject, but we only had one practical class a week, and then I was just really craving to get on stage. Obviously, you can't just like go be in a play. It's like impossible. So the only way I could kind of find to get on stage was with stand-up, and then I started it. I then did get into the degree the second time I auditioned a year later, but by that stage the sort of bug had bitten me. I was getting good at it. I was actually slowly but surely starting to get paid gigs every now and then, and I was still a student, so I was like, hey, I mean, all this money is just
That's great.
going to drinking, because I was still getting like an allowance from my parents. But the more I did it, the more I started seeing a shift or have a realization that I think instead of an actor that does comedy on the side, it's going to start getting like a more comedian that does acting every now and then when I get an opportunity.
Yeah.
Sorry, that noise in the background is a radio going off. If you can hear that. And your first stand-up job...
Sounds like we had a police station.
Yeah, exactly. We raided. Your first stand-up job was at a strip club? Is that right?
Well, it was my first paying gig.
Okay.
And I'm trying to work out what it was in pounds. It was 4,000 rand, which is 200 pounds.
Okay, for one night.
Yeah.
Nice.
As a first year
That's
student.
pretty decent.
Yeah.
It was in the holiday, and I get offered £200 basically to do this gig. I was like, wow. Because the most I'd made at a gig was, sometimes if you do well, the owner of the bar would say like, hey, have a beer and a burger
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, score. So that was so much money. And then the catch was the guy wanted me to do 40 minutes, but I did not have 40 minutes of material at that stage. I'd only been doing it for a year. Then I asked him, can I maybe do 20 minutes for half the money? So like £100. And then he said yes. I also didn't have 20 minutes, but I thought I would just do my 10 minutes. I try and stretch it out. I'll just do it at half the pace. But it was at this strip club I didn't know it was a strip club. It's a place called Rock Paradise.
Okay.
So I just knew the whole time building up to the gig, it's at Rock Paradise. And the weird thing was, it was in Kempton Park, which is my hometown. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I grew up here. How have I never heard of this place? But it's like this really dingy. And I told a friend, and he's like, dude, it's a strip club.
What time would you shoot?
This is the weirdest thing. It was at 2 p.m. So I go there, 2 p.m. There's maybe like 3 men and my dad, who
He was there for...
I didn't catch him there. I didn't catch him out. He came with me because he thought it was hilarious that I was performing at a strip club. So he was like, I need to see this.
Yeah.
He's coming with. But it was wasn't like a very professional, I think half of the ladies there were firstly illegal, not in age, but in sort of, not the right immigration.
Yeah.
And, and I think they were also offering, I know because I was offered illegal extra services that goes further than a lap dance. So I go on stage. The act before me was a stripper. She had a whole 40-minute routine.
A variety show.
Yeah. She had a whole 40-minute routine. I won't go into details, but I mean, it got rough. And I mean, I'm 19. at the time, you know. So I mean, I was really like, wow, what is going on? And then the MC doesn't even kind of do like, he wasn't a comedian, he was doing like songs, cover songs. Doesn't even do one song between me and her, just brings me straight on after. And I walk on stage, and I mean, it's three men who couldn't care less about.
Are they expecting a stripper?
No, they
know it's a comedy.
The strip club did have comedy on a Friday afternoon, but I mean, they couldn't care less about the comedian on stage, about me. They each had a stripper on their lap, so they were like staring very deep into their eyes, and it was going so badly that eventually the strippers came, and I heard them sort of like whispering backstage, and they were saying to each other, come guys, come, let's go support. He's a fellow performer, you know. So then they all came around, sat in front, and then like they all like applauded and laughed really loud, but like kind of fake laughing to try and, you know, motivate me to carry on, because they could see I was just dying. And my dad's sitting in the back, and he's laughing his ass off, not at the jokes, but at me. And so I'll never forget that. It was like really, what do you call it in English? Baptism by fire.
Yeah.
It's really a baptism by fire.
Well, let's chat about your writing routine. You know, how do you go about writing a stand-up? And do you focus on the punchline? Is it a gag? Is it a story? What's your approach to it?
Yeah, so I actually was thinking about it on the way. Yeah, so I don't physically write it down. I kind of, which is an idea that first time I came to Edinburgh, that I then took back to South Africa. South African comedians more work like the American guys, where they would go test material in clubs, sort of 5 minutes at a time, and every time you got your gag, you kind of like go, okay, bank that for the show. Whereas I actually prefer the UK version, where people do new material shows. You do a full hour, you make the ticket super cheap, you advertise it as a work in progress, so the audience know that they're coming to see like a work in progress. They know they're not seeing a finished product. The ticket also reflects that, the ticket price. And then that really gives you the freedom to just like really mess around and whatever. So for those, I'll make notes, but the material is in a sort of 50% already written, because I do stories. Most of my stand-up is stories from the past, or things that have happened to me. So it's already written in the sense of like, I know what happened, I know the story. I just need to then basically, in a sense, write the punchlines into it, and sometimes obviously exaggerate a bit for comic effect. But I have a really good memory. Like, I did public speaking in school, and I Stedford and all those things. I have a really good memory. And once a joke sort of works on stage, I don't know, it locks into my brain, and I can't sort of forget it, you know. So it's not really necessary for me to write it down. I then will make just like a set list, notes on my phone, like athletics joke, my dad, and then just have the sort of bullet points.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing like an hour's show or whatever, are you sort of trying to do a structure that has a theme throughout that story?
No. That's obviously a very popular thing in Edinburgh. So the first time I came here, so again, South African comics are closer to Americans in the sense of like a lot of stand-up specials you watch of the American comedians. It's like the show will have the title, and it's like, here's a joke about my kids, here's a joke about my dog, here's something funny that happened to me. It's not really along the same, but in Edinburgh you'll see a lot of shows about like private school, you know, and they'll only speak about like their private school experience, or it will be one long story about trying to find your father or whatever, you know. And I at some stage I thought I should try it, but that's not the comedian
Yeah.
I am. I don't want to tell one long story for the whole show. So I think thematically in my show now, the show I'm doing this year is the most kind of themed, but it wasn't really on purpose. It just happened that a lot of the material sort of followed the same thing, which is kind of that I was quite a sensitive child in school, and I do a bit about how I was bullied in school.
Yeah.
But yeah, that wasn't really planned, if I'm honest.
Okay. And I wanted to ask about hecklers. Is that something which I'm sure you've had to deal with? And do you write material to combat that in advance, or do you just think I'll just come up with a funny line or a put down if it happens?
Yeah, I haven't had, thankfully, hecklers as in like you suck kind of hecklers. But what does happen in South Africa, we're a big drinking country, is people just being too drunk in the show. So they're not heckling, it's more just someone being drunk and shouting things out. But it's a hard thing because they're not actually, in their mind, they're not being malicious. They're just contributing to the show, or they're just excited to see you. But I've actually realized that if you kind of still in comedy mode try and put down a heckler, they don't stop because they think you're just like messing back, messing around back at them. So these days actually just stop the show and as earnestly and nicely as possible just say, hey, I know you're really enjoying yourself, but these people have paid for a ticket and I really want to give them the show that they paid for. And can I just please ask you to kind of keep quiet? Yeah. Or if you can't, maybe go outside and have a drink at the bar and wait for us to come out, and then we can all have a drink together and talk really loud, and that I feel approach kind of catches people offside because it's like, oh, we're being like really nice about it,
You're not expecting that kind of approach.
Yeah.
Kill them with kindness, as it were.
Yeah.
And in terms of becoming, I mean, you've told us how you got into comedy, became a stand-up, but is there any path into becoming a stand-up, or is it just literally you have to just decide, I want to go and do this, and just put yourself in front of the audience?
Yeah, there's really no path. I mean, even if you just look at Edinburgh, it's like a perfect example. I was actually quite inspired in 2019 because I was feeling really low. Because some people come and they do Edinburgh and it's their first or second time and they get nominated for an award and then they're on telly, and then like now, 2022, I'm seeing acts that were like on my level in 2019.
Yeah.
And now they're doing like much bigger venues. I'm like, wow, this guy's really blown up. And in 2019, I was feeling really low. And also all the stars and the reviews really gets you down, because, in 2019, I never got a 4 or 5-star review. And then I go watch shows. And then the show that I'm watching has a 4-star review. And I'm like, but I don't necessarily think my show is better than this, but I at least think it's
as good.
Yeah. And it's just like really frustrating.
It's a very subjective thing, though, isn't it? It's
Yes.
comedy more so than any other form, I think.
But then I met Eddie Izzard, and he asked me how my Fringe was going, and I said, "Well, dude, if I'm honest, I'm battling a bit, especially with the whole review system and whatever." And he told me about his path, which was basically only in his 7th year of doing Edinburgh, like something clicked and he won a big award.
Yeah.
And then he was Eddie Izzard. And then
So the keys of just doing it.
he never looked back.
Yeah.
But like I said, he told me 7 years of basically like eating shit in Edinburgh. Like he says 1 year, lost money. 2nd year, lost, but a bit less. 3rd year, break even. 4th year, make a little bit. 5th year, 5th year, but then, like I said, then there's other people who come first year, boom, smash it, and they go like above
So
and
was it kind
beyond.
of mystery of some things just seem to
Yeah.
click and connect and just get zoomed right up the top of the zeitgeist, whatever.
Yeah, and then similarly, you get other guys who do Edinburgh like just kind of forever, and they never
Yeah.
go to that next level, even just in South Africa. Like, I mean, there's certain guys that were already sort of headlining gigs when I was starting out, and they kind of just have stayed on the
Same level.
So there is really no rules to it. There's no there's no loopholes. It's just every person has a different journey.
Well, you're here in Edinburgh now in the festival, so why don't you tell us a bit about what your show is all about?
Yeah, so I just chose a title that was kind of generic. I'll make laugh to you like you want me to. It's sort of supposed to be a pun from the song, but some people, I've handed them my flyer. What I didn't take into account was some people's accent, because they'll go, "Oh, I'll make laugh to you like you want me to." I'm like, well, if you say laugh instead of laugh, it doesn't really rhyme with love, so that doesn't really work. But anyway, I just chose a generic title because, I mean, that was the show I was going to do in 2020.
Okay.
And it's completely different material than I would have done in 2020. So I just wanted to choose a title that I kind of could put any material into, and it would work. But the shape that it kind of took was, I talk about the type of child that I was in school, which was more like the drama kid, not really sporty. And then I talk a bit about being bullied in school, which is also the first material that I've done on stage that kind of gets a bit more serious, and where I like kind of drop the comedy facade and just talk openly and honestly. I wanted to challenge myself with that because I was always very scared of silence on stage. Like whenever there was even a second silence, I would speed up my set and I would start panicking and sweating, and I wanted to challenge myself and like, no, I can actually, drop the punchlines for a short while.
Yeah.
Get people to actually feel something, and then boom, bring back the punchline and carry on. It's not really a anti-bullying show or anything like that. It's just a 50-minute section in the show, and then it just ends with some random jokes.
And as with many comedians, we were talking before we started recording, the marketing of these things, a lot of the onus falls on you yourself. You're after the recording this, you're going to go flyering, which you were saying. I mean, is that something that is unique to the Fringe, or is that something that happens in other festivals and stuff as well?
We have a festival in South Africa called the National Arts Festival, which when I was still starting out, we took like we were 4 comedians that took a show, and we would go flyer every day. But it's really soul destroying, especially if you're flyering your own show. If you're just a flyer that you get being paid, let's say £20 for 2 hours, and you just get handed,
you don't care,
1,000 flyers, and if someone says no thanks or they reject you or whatever, like on to the next one. And I mean, then you go home. You're not going to you're not the comedian standing on stage that night performing to 20 people or whatever. So it's much more like invested interest when you actually fly your own show, and it's tough, man. Sometimes it's really fulfilling because you'll go flyer and then your show's full, and you're like, wow, but 2 hours ago it was half full. So it actually did make a difference. Wow, that's amazing. But other times, just you sort of eagerly go ask your agent after 2 hours of flying, what are we on? And then you're on exactly the same. on exactly the same amount. So, yeah, but I mean, geez, I was saying that before we started recording that the first 2 days I just, because I haven't done it now in 3 years.
Yeah.
Last time I was flying was in 2019 because in South Africa I advertise my shows on social media and I've got a decent amount of followers that I can kind of fill up really nice sized venues with my socials. Now obviously those followers are mostly in South Africa, so it doesn't really help in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
So now I'm like flying again, and the first 2 days first day I think I handed out like 3 and I just stopped. I just couldn't do it. And then I thought, okay, let me just ease into it. Yesterday I had like a really low day and I just couldn't even hand out 1 flyer. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to give myself this 1 more day to feel sorry for myself. Tomorrow I'm going to hit it hard. I'm going to like hand out all the flyers.
Is this the hit hard day or is
this is hitting it hard?
hit hard day, right?
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
No, but
I just had to like kind of have a little bit of a pity party for myself yesterday.
Yeah.
And now I can sort of start fresh today.
Yeah, but it's interesting hearing it from the point of view of the comedian, because I am guilty of just walking past.
Yeah.
No, people are
not
handing
even
out
seeing the
flyers.
person
I
in
know,
the flyer.
it's
I
terrible.
know. It's true.
And
Yeah.
it can mean everything to them. Yeah, so yeah,
You're an asshole, though.
I know I am an asshole. That's the other thing. So, where and when is your show on?
So it's at the Gilded Balloon. I don't really know what that building is called, but I mean, anyone can find it if you just Google Maps, Gilded Balloon. And it's in the balcony room, and you can go to the Assembly box office, Gilded Balloon box office. It's every night at 20 to 8, or if you want to go to my website, schalkbezuidenhout.com, the link to the tickets are also there. And I think it's a good laugh.
Awesome.
And if you don't laugh, well, it's only an hour.
No, just as long as you buy a ticket, that's the mean.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the very, very last thing we always do is a super quick fire either or. So we'll just start off with what's the worst heckle you've ever had, and what's the best heckle you've ever had?
The worst heckle I think I've ever had, just because it was literally in April, just because I was so kind of stunned. I really didn't have anything to say back. It was this really drunk girl in the audience, and I kept kind of throughout the show being like, hey, please keep quiet, please keep quiet. And she just kept drinking more and more and more. And at some stage she was like, you dated my friend Lou. And I'm like, yeah, I did. Wow, why are we talking about exes? Like, that was like her only connection to me was that I used to date her friend. And
bizarre.
She just shouted that out, and I was really kind of,
It
took me so by surprise. I had no comeback. Yeah.
And what about the best joke?
Best heckle.
Best heckle, sorry. That's the best joke. Best heckle.
Oh, best heckle. Well, I used to have this joke where the punchline was boo-hoo boos. It was basically this dude who I talk about, like the type of people that I went to school with, and this guy I went to school with would post this long inspirational quote, and then I read the whole quote, and then someone else from our class just commented boo-hoo boos. And so I do the joke in the show, and then it was the same show that I also did this material about being bullied in school, and like really opening up. So it's like at a really quiet moment, I'm like, and it was like really tough, And then someone shouted, boo, boos. But I mean, I wasn't mad. I was like, that was brilliant. It was great timing,
Yeah, great. Bring it back up.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode like these ones down here.
And if you want to get in touch, you can do so by finding us on our social media platforms up here, or drop us a comment way down below there.
But otherwise, thanks for listening and join us for the next episode.
See you later.